Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
Welcome to the Eagles Checkdown, the fastest under 10-minute Eagles podcast there is, covering news, notes, and opinions on your favorite football team, the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, every single morning. At Bearded Knowledge is how you find me on all social media platforms, and of course, hosting Trending in the AM, Monday through Friday, live, 8 a.m. for 90 minutes of sports talk on the STT Sports Network, found on YouTube. There's a link below. Check it out. I would appreciate the subscribe. Guys, it's Tuesday. It's January 7th. It's wild card week in the NFL. And the Eagles are set to face the Green Bay Packers on Sunday, 4:30 in Philadelphia. And, you know, there's lots to dive into this week, but we really can't dive into a whole lot till the first matter of business that we have to discuss gets cleared up later in the week, and that is Jalen Hurts. Will he play? Will he not play? Will he clear concussion protocol? Will he not clear concussion protocol? Nick Sirianni spoke on Monday, as he always does with the media via a Zoom presser, and he had no new updates on Jalen Hurts, just continuing to reiterate that he is in the concussion protocol. Now, first and foremost, guys, he cannot clear concussion protocol until he practices. Nick Sirianni being so blatantly just boring with his answer, no information. That is just the way it always goes. Nick Sirianni's never going to give you much, but also he cannot be cleared until Wednesday's practice at the earliest. So the Eagles Nation freaking out. Is it concerning? Sure, a little bit. It was a terrible concussion that he took on a cheap shot to the back of the head, driven into the ground, eerily similar to Carson Wentz's concussion against Seattle back in 2019. But we might be worrying about nothing, because until we see the Wednesday practice report, which we'll address on this show Thursday morning, we cannot truly understand where Jalen Hurts is in the concussion protocol, process. We've seen as soon as they get that questionable limited tag after a practice, a player in concussion, they are most likely to return to practice. So let's not overreact. If it happens, we'll discuss Tanner McKee or Kenny Pickett later in the week. But for now, we are set, and I am preparing for the Eagles to have Jalen Hurts leading this team into battle on Sunday afternoon against the Green Bay Packers team that I'm trying to figure out how good they really are. They are 11-6 on the season. Obviously, announced on Monday, Christian Watson, their wide receiver, torn ACL, out for the year. We already knew Jair Alexander out for the year, their star cornerback. Now, Christian Watson's numbers are not crazy. They don't jump off the page. 29 catches, 2 touchdowns. But on 29 catches, he had over 600 receiving yards. He was number 2 in the NFL at 21.4 yards per catch. And that is critical. Alec Pierce was the only one he was behind. That's important because they don't have an elite A.J. Brown wide receiver or even Devontae Smith. They got a lot of number 2s with a really strong running game with Josh Jacobs. And someone that could stretch the field for 2 big catches a game. His average yards per attempt was over 41 yards. That's the kind of guy that stretches the field, that makes defenses worry about someone that then opens up the field for Jalen Reed, for Tucker Kraft, for Romeo Doubs, for Dontavian Wicks, for Josh Jacobs. So losing Watson for the year and for this game is massive for Green Bay. It's a big deal. Obviously, just like Jair Alexander, it seems like, they're hopeful with Jordan Love. So we'll see that when practice happens on Wednesday. But I'm still trying to figure out how this Green Bay Packers team even is 11-6. They're the number 5 offense, number 6 defense in football, and they're 11-6. But when you really look at this, and this is not enough because going 11-6 is tough to do. They were 1-5 against their division. That means they were 10-1 against everybody else. And yes, they were 0-2 against the Lions and the Vikings, 1-1 against the Bears. terrible Bears team. But I was kind of looking at all the games they played this year, all the games they won this year. Most of them were okay or really bad teams. Most of them were non-playoff teams. If my memory, they've only got 2 wins against playoff teams out of their whole 11. They beat the Dolphins in Seattle. They're okay teams. The Colts, okay. The Rams, a playoff team, and they're a good team. The Cardinals, okay. The Texans, okay. A playoff team, but okay. 49ers, okay. The Titans, they're the number 1 team in the draft this upcoming year. The Jaguars just fired Doug Peterson. By the way, shout Doug Peterson fired. They beat the Bears 1 time. Only 1 time out of 2. The Saints, terrible. The Saints are looking for a new head coach. So is Green Bay as good as their numbers say they are, or are they just the product of a really easy schedule, which is something that the rest of the nation would complain if that's what the Eagles had happen to them? They're 10-1 against the rest of the NFL outside of their division. Their 1 loss outside of their division coming against the Eagles in week 1 in Brazil. So just something to think about when you're starting to be scared about this Packers team. They don't have that signature win. They don't have a win against a good team or a really good team. So it's just something to, while we're waiting for Jalen Hurts, let's not panic, because the Green Bay Packers, their numbers say they're good. Their overall record says they're good. But when you break it down, it says they're pretty good, but not good. So it's something to keep in mind. One other little piece of news that I wanted to throw out there. The first interview request for an Eagles assistant coach happened on Monday. Kellen Moore, a request was put in by those New Orleans Saints to interview Kellen Moore for their head coaching opportunity. I hate how coaches in the playoffs can be interviewed while they're preparing for playoffs, but whatever. That's a topic for another day. But Kellen Moore was requested for an interview from the New Orleans Saints. Look, Kellen Moore is going to be head coach someday, whether it's this offseason or in the future. I really don't want Kellen Moore to be a head coach next year. I want him to stay as the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. Whether you liked what he did or not this year, Jalen Hurts has only had 1 time in it since he started college with the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row. And that year we did go to the Super Bowl. So I would love the Eagles to be able to find a way to convince Kellen Moore he does not want to be head coach next year, that he wants to stay in Philly, whether it's a pay bump, whether it's a title increase, whatever it may be. I hope they find a way to keep Kellen Moore. And if they don't, I hope they have a game plan for replacing him, whether it's Newsmeyer, the quarterback coach, or somebody else. I don't know, but it better be somebody with some play calling experience, in my opinion. With that being said, guys, this is the Eagles Checkdown right here on the Eagles Pinball Podcast Network. Again, I am Phil Stifel. You can find me on Trending in the AM at 8 a.m. today live, talking all these Eagles things, plus so much more. Linked below, guys. And as always, guys, go Birds and bubbles up.